PLR is something that you make your own. It's totally your branding. You can change it, you can modify it, adjust it to your audience so it really speaks to them. You have full control over everything.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast, where we delve into the stories of successful entrepreneurs so you can discover what's possible. Today's guest is Alice Seba.
This episode is brought to you by blogsetupservices.com, which is exactly what it sounds like, a service to set up your blog for you. So if you've struggled with the technical aspects of launching a blog business, including installing WordPress, getting your hosting account up and running, getting your domain name, working with that hosting account, and getting a nice design up and running for your blog, this is the service for you. It's for all you non-techies out there. So once you sign up for your very own blog setup services package, Carrie is going to become your blog mechanic. She will provide this installation and support service for you, which includes installing your blog and helping you with all aspects of setting up your domain name and your hosting account. She's also going to offer you to choose from a selection of premium themes provided by StudioPress, and you can choose which one of these you like the most. They're normally going to cost you $99.95, but they're included for free as part of the blog setup services package. So once your blog is set up and you've got that nice premium theme, Carrie's also going to install 6 must-have plugins so that you've got things like protection from spam, protection from hackers. You've got something to help with the loading time, to speed up the loading time of your blog, and a bunch of other things that are very common but important, like spell checks and web forms, so people can easily contact you through your blog. We're also going to throw in a second bonus. This is from me. If you choose to sign up for the blog setup services package, you also get access to my blog tech 101 guide, which is huge. It's 128 pages that I put together specifically for my members to help with everything to do with blog technology. So you've got all kinds of information there, not just blog setup, but you've got things like how to do collect emails from people, how to set up product delivery sections on your blog, how to create membership sites. All the technical aspects of blogging are covered in there, but Carrie will do all the basic installation for you. So you've got both here. You've got the knowledge on what you need to do with tech, but Carrie's going to do the basic setup for you, all part of this package. So you're probably wondering, how much does this actually cost? Well, it's a one-time fee of just $99 for your blog to be completely set up with a nice custom premium theme, your domain name, your hosting, and those 6 must-have plugins, plus my free guide on the technical aspect of running a blog business. So you get all of that for $99. Just go to blogsetupservices.com to find out more and to order your blog setup package. And you can turn your idea into a fully functioning website in under 3 days. Hello, this is Yaro, and welcome to an Entrepreneur's Journey podcast. Today I have a guest with me who I'm actually quite curious to learn the background story about because, like myself, she has been online forever. And anytime someone's been making a living on the internet for a long period of time, it usually means they've done something right, possibly more than once. So there's usually a few stories to dive into and figure out how they did that. So we're leading with a claim to fame for my guest today. She has sold over millions of dollars worth of content online. I know that sounds a little bit vague, so I'm looking forward to finding out what exactly that means. Without further ado, let me just introduce my guest. And my guest today is Alice Seba. Alice, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So, Alice, I'm trying to figure out when I first actually saw your name or what you do or what you did pop up, because I remember there was a period of time. It's funny to say this because now in the sort of current internet era, there are so many women internet marketers. Like it's I feel like there's an army of Marie Forleos out there of women teaching women and all kinds of sub niches, just like there are for men as well. But when I first discovered you, I do recall you were a bit more of an anomaly in the sense that you were a female internet marketer, and there weren't nearly as many back then. I think I could probably count them on my one hand if I could remember when that year was. It was probably around mid 2000s, I'm thinking.
Okay.
I know your bio says you got your start around 2002. Is that accurate?
It was 2002. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to cover it all. So let's go back in time properly. And have you always been a Vancouverite, or were you born somewhere else?
I was born and raised here. My parents came from the Czech Republic, well then Czechoslovakia, a few years before I was born, and I've always been here. Yeah.
We have some history. My grandparents are from Czech/Hungary, wherever the border kept changing. So, so we have some in the bloodline. So, I don't know how many Czechs arrived in Vancouver in British Columbia or not. Did you meet any others, or is it common?
Yes. Actually, growing up, my parents had this kind of tight-knit group of people. We used to go camping with them every summer and spend a lot of time with them. So there are quite a few here. Yeah. So it's good. They first moved to Winnipeg, though, when they first came to Canada. And I'm so forever grateful that they moved to Vancouver before I was born, because that Winnipeg winter would have killed me.
Yeah. My father's side, my grandmother, she spent most of her life after being a Ukrainian immigrant after World War II. She got to Winnipeg, but she never escaped or chose never to leave.
Oh, no.
For whatever reason. So no offense, Winnipeg, for the Winnipeg listeners. But
it's just a preference.
Yeah. You're a hardy bunch, I think, if you live in Winnipeg. So
yes, for sure.
Okay, so you're born and raised in Vancouver. It's funny because I grew up in Australia. I always assumed growing up in Canada, besides perhaps a love for hockey, it would be very similar to growing up in Australia. So did you just have, playing out in the forests and the amazing ocean we have here, and then went to school all great? Any stories from back then?
Any stories? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it was a great upbringing, a little bit different, having immigrant parents and stuff like that, but because they did things a little differently, didn't want to spend money, were a little cheap, but they taught me a lot, I think, too, and I didn't learn those lessons right away about money and things, but it's coming along now, especially now I have to I need to know how to manage this money because that money's coming in.
Right. What do you mean by the lessons they taught you? Like just frugality, or?
I think, yeah. And I think that's what's missing a lot, is that I've always kind of had this approach where I think, like, if I have to solve a financial problem, I would always think, and like I said, it took me a while to learn the lessons, that I would approach it where I just make more money, as opposed to where my parents were always, careful with their money, which is how most people get wealthy, right? Is not being loose and totally free with their money, being careful with it. And, like my mom used to darn our socks, like instead of buying new socks, and she would sew them, and she still does it for her own socks. And apparently a few years ago, my father finally put his foot down and said that they're really uncomfortable with the stitching in them, so I'm just going to get new socks. But and he's 70 now, so that was a really big deal for him to finally just say that's enough.
So it took until he was 70 to experience the joys of fresh socks.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's an interesting distinction, actually, the difference between making money by saving it versus making money by producing more. I have a similar experience with my own mother. She was like a huge saver, but not a great earner. And I had the opposite attitude. I remember thinking, man, I do waste money sometimes, especially things like picking flights that might be more expensive than, getting up at 6 a.m. and catching a 6 a.m. flight. But then I always thought I'd rather go and make more money and use my hours that way, and, and be awake in the case of not catching an early flight. It is a different mentality. Obviously, it's great if you can do both, save and earn.
Yes.
Right. But I think perhaps, there's an abundance versus scarcity difference there too. And probably immigrant parents, I know, can't help it, right? You came over here with nothing. So I can't imagine what that's like. Did you, growing up because of your parents like that, or maybe just your own nature, did you feel you were entrepreneurial as a child or a teenager?
Not so much, actually. I always thought, because my dad was like a blue collar worker. My mom stayed home with us till I was probably, early grades, probably fourth grade or something like that. And she started to work for like Canada Revenue Agency, which everybody knows is kind of like the IRS for Canada. And so they never did. I guess my dad did dabble a little bit in business, but I never really knew much about it. So I never thought about it. And business itself always kind of interested me. But I imagined myself working for someone else, right? Like doing, marketing or something. But then that kind of went away too. So I really don't know. It was having kids and wanting to be home and to be there for them that kind of sparked it for me. But yeah,
so when you were...
Wasn't a plan.
Right. In which case, when you were, I don't know if you went to university or not, but when you were going through schooling, what was like your decision-making process entering university? What kind of...
Well, that's kind of funny because I was always a good student. And so it was like, oh, you should go to university. I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to study? I have no idea what I want to be. So I have a history and a double major in history and archaeology.
Oh, wow.
With no real idea what I was going to do other than maybe I'd be a teacher, thought about maybe law school or something like that. All vague ideas. So I really didn't know.
Wow. So you're kind of like Laura Croft here, Tomb Raider degree. That's what that sounds like. So
something like that.
So when you graduated, then what did you do? Did you look for a job or?
I think at the time I was a waitress working my way through school and then even after I graduated, but I also kind of got into started working for an English as a second language school in Vancouver. So students would come from around the world to learn English in Vancouver for a few weeks, sometimes a few months or something like that. And I started off as a teacher's assistant, and then I actually did, funny enough, is I was going to quit, and then they made me weirdly enough, their marketing manager, and I had no idea about marketing. I didn't know what I was doing at all, but it sure was a fun job, and I got to travel. I went to South America, to Asia, to recruit students and stuff, so it was a great experience.
Wow. So what was, at that point in time, what was marketing? Was there online marketing or not?
Like the school had a website and there wasn't, because that would have been, what year would that, how old would I? That's got to be like 21 years ago. So I think there was an internet, right? But there wasn't, and like our school didn't really utilize a lot of online marketing other than through specific organizations, like government organizations that did like student recruitment and things like that. So I didn't really learn anything about online marketing through that job.
Right, because that's sort of 97, that would have been, websites, .com boom starting up probably. Yeah. So people talking about e-commerce a lot, but yeah. Interesting. Okay, so you got to travel a bit. What happened after that? Did you start leaning towards anything to do with the internet, or did you still have like a normal sort of career path?
Not internet. And then I started, this was kind of the part where I sort of did get some kind of entrepreneurial bug, and I decided to kind of branch out on my own and started tutoring English and things like that. But that was like very time consuming and labor intensive. I wasn't going to build a team of tutors or anything like that. So, it kind of died off. And it really wasn't until I had my first child, which would have been in 2001. Yes, 2001. He'll be 17 this year. And I just had this thought, like, I don't want to go back. I was also working by this time for Canada Revenue Agency. I seem to have followed in my mom's footsteps, but I was in human resources. And I was like, I really don't want to go back there. I want to, be home for my kids. And so I started looking around and I joined, Usborne Books. Mm. It's kind of like Tupperware, but it's for kids' books. Okay. So you sell it and like go to home parties and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I looked online. I found that company. I thought that sounded interesting. I had a new child, selling kids' books. Sounds lovely. But then I signed up for it and I'm like, this is not a home business because I have to go out. I have to find people to have these stupid parties for me. Or I thought they were stupid. Have these parties for me, and I'm out all the time, and then not making very much money because I'm a much better salesperson now, but I was definitely not a good face-to-face salesperson at all. So it was like I was going out a few times a week, not making much money. I'm like, this is not a home business. I want a home business. So I started searching a bit more on the internet. And what I find interesting is that you said there weren't very many women. But what I first connected with was, the work-at-home mom community.
Right.
So these are moms who are doing the party plans and things. So they're saying they're working at home, but they're not working at home. But you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I came across the site wham.com, which probably still, I'm sure it exists, WAHM.com. And it's a big, one of the originals, right. Big community of moms who have these businesses. And I kind of went on to the message board and I said, I think this internet thing sounds like, is there a way to have a full-time online business? Because I don't want to be going out and selling stuff. And everyone's like, well, yeah, you can supplement your business with internet stuff, but you can't make a full-time income, they all told me. And I'm like, that sounds like bull. I'm going to prove them wrong, right? So I decided kind of just to go on a journey and figure out how to do this, how to have an online business, and kind of share my experience as I went along too. So that's where I created the site internetbasedmoms.com, which I sold quite a while ago. I think that's almost 10 years ago that I sold it. Oh, well, over 10 years ago. But it was basically me having no clue what I was doing. However, sharing what I was doing and what was working and figuring it out. And eventually I did.
I think that's probably where I actually know you from, because Internet-Based Moms sounds very familiar to me. So does the Work at Home Moms Network. And I think possibly... Yeah, I might have, because obviously with Internet-Based Moms, you had a similar ethos to I did with Entrepreneur's Journey, right? The whole idea of kind of chronicling your process of becoming an entrepreneur. In your case, you were a mother. So I can't recall. We're talking, like you said, you sold it 10 years ago. So, and you must have been running it for 3 or 4 years before you sold it, or?
Well, I think it must have been sold in 2000. It can't be 2007. I'm trying to think. Maybe 5 years. Yeah, I might have had it for 5 years. Okay. Or is that an exact? No, I couldn't have. Wow, it seemed like I had it longer. It must have been 4. It's so long ago now.
All right, well, take us forward with that. So that was your main project, and what was the plan to actually make money from that? Well,
it was the main project in that it seemed to take up most of my time. It actually, really picked up lots of traffic and the community was growing and everything. But what I was doing really to to pay the bills in the very early days was I started as a writer for pay. So I was writing articles, I was doing copywriting, which I self-taught and quickly, because it went well with me. I always wanted to be a writer. I never knew I wanted to be a copywriter growing up, but I thought I was going to be a novelist of some kind. And I've never written a novel in my life.
Yet.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. It's all right. I'm good with it.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing. So that was kind of the, paying the bills, doing that. But that became...
How were you getting the clients back then?
Word of mouth, mostly. Just put myself out there and being in communities. I mean, and then, it was a lot of message boards and things. Now it's Facebook groups and stuff. But it's the same idea, right? Getting to know people, that you offer these services. And once you do a good job with one person, you get recommendations or they keep coming back for more.
Okay. And internet-based moms, were you just sort of writing articles about all kinds of internet marketing related things, or talking about your business, or interviewing people? What was it about?
The site itself was more general. I think I got more personal maybe through the mailing list and like the message board and stuff like that. But yeah, we were talking about all kinds of internet marketing topics, and then I hired some writers as well to get on board and write. But yeah, it was it was a great traffic site. And then when Google AdSense came around, I don't remember what year that was. That was a huge kind of helped me shift from offering services to being able to let go some of those clients and be able to do more of my own thing.
Now, I'm curious, during the early days, were you a technical person? Like, there's a lot of technical things we're talking about here. So were you doing that all yourself?
Oh my goodness, I still am not. I wasn't, and I mean I've learned over time, but I like seriously. I'm gonna reveal a lot about myself now. Is like being so like I would cry almost every day. Something would break, or I wouldn't know how to fix it, or I wouldn't know how to do something. And my then husband would help me a lot. Who, you know, my knowledge has surpassed his greatly after a long time. But at the time, he knew more than me, so it was very helpful to me. I also hired people. I don't know. Do you know Lynette Chandler?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
She's smart. She's always been somebody who's way back then too is leveraging technology and learning new things to, you know, help and assist in marketing. So she actually worked for me and she helped me with a lot of those things. So yeah.
And I'm guessing back then too, it wasn't like WordPress easy to do things. It would have been sort of more raw HTML sort of stuff, right?
I used Front Page, Microsoft, but my very first site I built with Microsoft Word. I just built the documents and I loaded those up as HTML.
Yeah, that's pretty messy.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it worked.
Yes, and
that was my book site, the kids' book site that I made with Microsoft Word.
It was a bit of a golden era, though, for Google because you could just publish content and you just get all this traffic, which it sounds like it happened for you, right? And so going forward, you switch from freelancing copywriting to more Google AdSense driven. Now, AdSense also was in a golden era back then where I don't know how much traffic you got on that site, but did it become a full-time income source for you, or did you still have to mix incomes, or...
It wasn't full time. I can't even remember what it was, about 5,000. I mean, I guess that is considered full time.
Full time, yeah.
5,000 a month. But it was also, I was starting to making my own products, information products and things like that. And was still doing some writing on the side. And then it was probably 2006 when I started, and this is what I do to this very day, is starting to offer private label rights content. So instead of working one-on-one with clients, we were making ready-made content packages that people could buy. Didn't have to, be at the mercy of any client's whims or requests. It's either they come and see this content we have, they buy it, or they don't. And it was a big switch. And and as AdSense died out on that site for me, and as I sold it, right, and then I completely lost the income. That was what kind of replaced it.
Okay, there's lots to talk about here. So I'd love to dive into PLR because that's a very interesting topic to me. Before we do that, can we just sort of close the door on what happened with internet-based moms and why did you sell it?
I wanted to buy a house.
Okay.
So I needed a good sizable down payment. Even then, that was like 11 years ago. Vancouver housing was pretty expensive. It's ridiculous now, but back then it was still expensive. So needed some money and decided to sell it. And I sold it to one of my business partners. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like she does much with it. It's still up there. I'm not sure what's happening. I haven't talked to her in a long time.
Yeah, it looks sort of half finished now, but
yeah.
So when you sold it, because I actually sold my editing business probably around the time you sold this, because I sold mine in 2007, and in 2006 I bought small business branding from Michael Pollock. I think it was 2006, and I remember when I bought that, just writing the fact that I'd bought a blog on my blog was a bit of a news story because people were not buying and selling websites yet as a sort of, normal thing to do. So when you sold internet-based business moms, was that like a big deal? Did people kind of, find that shocking, or did it sort of just happen behind the scenes and that was it?
What do you mean that people find it shocking?
Like, did you have any kind of, people want to interview you about selling a business online, or did it just sort of, you handed over the reins and you just got busy with PLR?
I don't Yeah, people did want to know because it was kind of sort of that time where people were starting to do it and people were wondering how to price stuff. I mean, I think, a few years later, I could have sold it for a lot more and not, really knowing what to expect. Not that I'm not, the deal is good. Like it was fine with me, but I had no idea what to expect, but it all worked out and I'm glad. I was kind of coming to the end with that market anyways too, because what I had found was that I had created that site with, the market I was targeting, the work-at-home moms, and the way I was marketing to them, it was kind of from a frugal perspective. So it's kind of giving them permission to be cheap. And we don't really want, if we want to make good money, we don't want cheap customers. So I found it, other than, the traffic obviously brought money, it brought advertising dollars, it brought Google AdSense and stuff like that. But when it came to selling to the market, I found that a little tough. So I kind of wanted to start a little, more fresh and do something different.
So you sort of had inadvertently attracted a bargain basement client.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, as a very important point there about targeting, I think, isn't it? If you want to sell high ticket.
And a lot of people do that, right? Because we want to be wise with our money and we want to share that with other people. But then, if we try to make that a business, that makes it a little hard.
Yeah, definitely if you want to sell something high ticket pricing. But okay, so now PLR, this is something that is definitely like an internet phenomenon. So I remember when I first came across this private label rights content. It was probably around the mid-2000s because I think there was a few launches around it. It was new and it was exciting. And niche marketing was becoming a thing. So people were creating these little websites and they were buying content packages to sort of start off with the first 10 articles or the first 10 emails in the email sequence. And it was huge for a while because it basically solved a big problem, right? People don't like writing. People don't like content creation. But I'm kind of curious because it quickly became, I think, saturated. I feel like there was, an abundance of this content coming on board. And then people started arguing that it wasn't good for search engine rankings because you've got duplicate content. If everyone's publishing the same articles, your site's never going to get traffic.
Right.
So there's a lot to talk about here. But before we talk about that part of it, and I especially love that you're still doing it because you've clearly figured out a longevity strategy in this space. But I'd like to know at the beginning, to even think of this idea, how did you transition and come up with the concept?
Well, I saw there were a lot of people starting to do it. And there were it was for those niche sites, those crappy sites where people were putting up the worst content. They just, as long as they had lots of pages, Google didn't know how to tell if it was good content or not at that time. So there were all these PLR sellers popping up that, hired people for $2 an article that didn't know English that well. And so they were garbage. And so what my business partner and I, it was actually the person who purchased Internet-Based Moms. We decided to go into business together on this PLR stuff. And what we did to set ourselves apart was say that this is actually good content. Believe it or not, it's going to be good. So quality content, the type of person who cared about that, right? Who cared that they were putting, they were building a business as opposed to just throwing up sites and making some quick cash. So that's kind of where it began. And even though I was a writer, I knew at this point that I did not want to write the content. I know a lot of writers go into the PLR business because they're writers and it's a great way for them to transition from clients. For me, I just said that we're going to hire writers. So my business partner did some of the writing and then she hired writers and managed them. And on rare occasion, I do create PLR content now and then, but on the day-to-day basis, I've always used writers to do it because my job is selling the content.
Can you explain just even the PLR phrase? Where did that come from and what does it mean exactly?
So it stands for private label rights. And basically what it is that it's content. It could be a variety of things. It could be reports, videos, graphics, any type of content, right? And it's already created on a certain topic and the customer can go and buy it for a low price, right? It's cheaper for them to hiring a writer because as a PLR seller, we sell it over and over again. So maybe to hundreds of people, maybe to thousands, depends on who's selling it, right? So they can get it, package prices vary, but it could be $10, $30, some are $100, depending on what's in there, instead of paying, hundreds or thousands of dollars to a writer. And the customer can then edit the content, they can brand it, they can add their product promotions, and there are limitations, and each seller probably has different rules for it, so you got to read that. But it's basically content that you can make your own, but it's already done and you can just run with it. And I think it's also sometimes even more convenient than hiring a writer, not just because it's cheaper, but because it's ready, right? So, if you want to work on a project, you got to hire a writer, you got to wait. Here you can just say, this is what I need content on, get it, and you can run with it right away.
Right. Now, how did you sell this for the first time? Can you take us through your first ever PLR product release?
Oh, shoot. Do I remember? I think we set up a membership site, and it was for moms.
Of course.
It was a family type content. It was called allmomcontent.com, which probably redirects to allprivatelabelcontent.com, which was our main name, but doesn't matter. Don't need to know all that. No. But it was a membership site, so every month, can't even remember what we started with. They got something like 25 articles, and what else did we put in there? I really don't remember.
So what were they?
A few other things.
So how much were they paying? $20 a month, and they get 25 articles, or?
When we first launched, we did it cheap. I think it was like $12 a month or something, and then it went up to $25 a month. I think the current owner still sells it, and I think it's about $25 a month for a big chunk of content every single month. And how did you create those first articles and build that website and the membership area? And who did you sell it to? Was there an audience that you had access to? I guess because there was overlap between internet-based moms and that, so I had that list to kind of introduce them to the idea of PLR. And then again, my business partner is the one that bought it, so she still had that audience after we were done. And affiliates, there were people who wanted to promote it. I got a lot of people on board right away who were sending me customers, and I was giving them commissions for doing that. And as far as the membership, that was the first membership platform, and I started using a member because my friend Lynette that I was telling you about. Otherwise, I never would have been able to use a member because it was confusing as heck. And I still use it to this day. It's still my favorite platform that I've come across. But that was new. The idea of membership sites was quite new. There weren't a lot of choices. They're quite technical. And so, yeah. Do you remember how well that first release went for you? I think we got a few hundred members. Wow. I think so. It wasn't so bad. We were happy with it. And from our costs and stuff, we were making money. So it was good. And then we went ahead and did a few different memberships. And so each month we were doing these packages of content. There was finance, there was health, a few different ones that were marketing that we did. So we grew it from there. Now, how did those people use it? What was the typical use case for PLR content then? I'm thinking that was mostly putting it up on their website. We were encouraging them to use it for emails. I don't think we gave them reports at the time, but they could bundle it up into reports and things like that. But yeah, it was, I think it was a lot of just website content at that time people were using it for. Okay, interesting. So, as I said before, I remember there was a heyday, golden era for PLR. It seems like there was a golden era for everything over there. It's still there, Well, it's still there. I promise you. I'd love to hear. But I know a lot of people think it's gone. I'm like, no, it's not gone. Let me be honest with you. I remember when PLR popped up.
And I'm a writer too. So I'm like, this is blasphemy in some level for me, right? I can't use this. This is worse than hiring someone else to write my stuff. I'm putting up other people's content, which is duplicated by, other websites. So there's no unique value here. I don't see how I'm going to get any search engine rankings for this content, certainly not long term. In fact, I'll probably damage my rankings because they'll start seeing that I'm publishing lots of duplicate content. I thought maybe emails, that kind of, I could see the use case because it's not search engine relevant. It's just going out to your email list. But even then, I'm like, my voice is not there. So maybe I'm not the target audience, and that's fair enough. I'm a writer. So other people who are not writers, this is a way to accelerate the content production. But I always thought, how does it match their targeting? How is it not just sort of filler content? Because it have to be so tailored. So I'm giving you every single doubt I've ever had about PLR content here. And I think I actually did buy one set of content for a business idea I had that never happened. So can you, maybe you can deal with all those doubts first, but secondarily, I know it felt like to me there was a period where there was some launches that happened around PLR, and I remember a friend of mine in Sydney, Aurelius Chin? Yeah, he was into PLR, still is, I think, too, actually.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You two are probably like the best examples I remember of being in PLR, but what was unique about you two, and it's kind of why I want to talk to you, is you're still doing it. And I feel like it's almost like someone who started doing a 1980s technique of music, and the music is still, proving popular now. It's like, how are you doing that?
Well, that's the thing. We're not doing, or I'm not. I don't know Aurelius's story exact. I do know him, and we promote each other, but I don't know how he started compares to now. But I've adapted, right? There's different needs and stuff, and different types of content we put out. And but if we want to go back to what you're talking about, like search engines and things like that, I remember that very well, that people thought like it was the worst thing. And I used it all the time. When I cared about search engines, and eventually I came to this point where it became more difficult. And it wasn't because I was using PLR. It was difficult for everybody, right? And I just said, like, forget about Google. I don't care what they think. I'm just going to go do different stuff. But at that time, when Google was still like easy pickings, I used PLR content all the time. Not all of it. Like, there had to be a mix, right? And you can't just be, if you're just putting it out there, putting it as is, then you might run into some trouble. But what I thought was interesting was and people would always ask me if my PLR was optimized for search engines. And I'm like, how can my PLR be optimized for search engines? If everybody's going to put it up and target the exact same keyword phrase, you're not going to rank. So I always insisted, I'm like, no, it's not. What you need to do is you need to do your own keyword research, come up with a keyword phrase that you want to target with that content, change the title, maybe add an introduction, not rewrite it, because I think that's a waste of time. What's the point of buying PLR if you're going to rewrite it? So I would do these minor changes, maybe an introduction, maybe add some examples if I felt like it. Change the title to target a specific keyword phrase. And I got traffic to my PLR articles all day long. So, and it's the same as, news sites and things like that too, right? They're always publishing the same content and doing different things. But what we were doing is providing a good experience for our audience. And as long as we were doing that, then things were going well.
So take me forward with the growth of this business for you. Did you sort of just double down on the membership side of things, or what happened next?
No, I started to find that a little more difficult to sustain, where people would want to be paying for the same content over and over. So I dabbled with different things and trying to get, setting up a credits membership where they can pick what they got. And so basically I do serial product launches. I do have some memberships. I do have recurring income set up that way, and one that's actually started to go quite well. But basically, because I'm involved with coming up with the product ideas. But then my writers and my project managers, they make sure the product's done. They make sure the sales page is done. Everything's ready for affiliates and things like that. I'm very hands off with that part of it. That I can do these serial, like it would be exhausting if I was trying to do it myself, right? To do these serial product launches. But I find that works best. PLR customers, even though they may not always want to pay for a membership, they are like excited to just go keep buying your products. Like I have customers just buy everything. And so I found that to be more useful to me. And it's changed over time too, like what types of content I offer. Like we do a lot of graphics. We do more like practical type of content that won't be for search engines, but it's like, journals and worksheets and documents that, people love to get their hands on, and different types of stuff rather than just plain old written content that's going to be on a blog somewhere. So that's really evolved over time, and trying to figure out what customers really want, like what they're gonna rush out to buy. They're not rushing. Back then I could sell a 10 article pack, right? And people would be rushing to buy it. They're not rushing to go and buy a pack of articles anymore. They want different stuff. They want more unique things.
I can imagine it's become more sort of tailored and niche, where you might, for example, doctors need a 10-part series of videos on something common, and all doctors need that for their website. So you could put together something like that. Is that kind of the direction it's gone to, or does that too?
Not for me, but I know that a lot of people have done that, like, serving local businesses and things like that, doing stuff like that. For me, I still stick kind of general-ish because I have a large customer base that will buy those. If I get too specific, I'm not going to be able to sell more. Of course, if you're targeting doctors and things like that, you could charge more, right? They're going to be willing to pay more for that type of content. So it's a balance. But for me, I've already got this established large audience of affiliate force that's, always promoting my stuff. So I'm focused in 2 areas now. It's marketing topics, and then there's also personal development. So I keep it kind of general, not going too specific, because then I'll whittle down the people who will be willing to buy it.
Can we? What's the sort of a website where you can see an example of what you're actually talking about here?
Listmagnets.com is where I have the marketing content. That was the main site, and then I actually, I was doing about 6 months ago on that site, I was doing marketing, health, personal development, and food content. And so there was quite a few things there. But mid last year, I decided to focus more on the topics that sold well. So marketing was my second most popular topic. So I decided List Magnets will be just dedicated to that now. And I started a new site at publishforprosperity.com, and that's solely personal development content, because that is my biggest seller, actually.
So what's an example of like a personal development PLR product? Like what's in it today?
One of our bigger sellers has been our journal pack. So it's just a pack of different, really nicely designed journals for different topics. I can't remember, journals for, gratitude journal, journals for moms or something. It's just a package of a variety of journals that people can use.
You mean you say journal, they're like empty for people to write in?
Printable, yeah. And they've got quotes in them. They're nicely designed. There's some writing prompts and things like that. Same with planners, like a daily planner, like, you organize your work for. We've done ones like that. And
so I might be like a personal development coach or speaker or something like that, and I want to potentially add these to something I offer. I can just buy your package, put my name on these journals or these planners, and then either sell them or include them with what I already sell. I can do whatever I want with them.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like it's entrepreneurs. Ultimately, you might be selling to a lot of small business owners who already have their own audience too, and they're just wanting to augment their product offerings or even create products.
Create products, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So how does one go about getting into PLR? Because there might be some people listening to this who are thinking, you know what, I want to get into this market that Alice is in, because I don't want to be the content creator, but I wouldn't mind hiring content creators and selling. Is this even possible anymore, or do you have to sort of have been in it from the early days so you can build up this nice list and audience like you have, and you have, by the sounds of things, great relationships with affiliates? So I'm assuming you're kind of all cross promoting each other's stuff.
Yes.
So how do you get into that club, or do you need to be in that club, or what's it like today?
Well, you can get into that club. Okay. That's the thing. And then I do, like, Ron Douglas and I have a training program that teaches people how to start a PLR business. And that's kind of, the important part of the training is I mean, it's a great business. It is an easy business to get into. People want to buy this content. They keep buying it. Also, when it comes to building relationships with affiliates, it's still, I mean, you have to do the work to build those relationships, but it's still fairly easy if you've got a good product and it's selling well, because as PLR sellers and creators ourselves, we can't fulfill all the needs of our customers. Like we said, they want to keep buying stuff. So we're always promoting other things. And that's an important part of the training that we teach them, is to, help them, and we even help them get started. I promote their product, their first product, and then recommend them to my affiliates as long as everything goes well and the product's, good and stuff like that. But it gets that foot in the door for them. But it's still a very good business, because a lot of people fall off, just like with everything else. So, there's always a need for more people, and I encourage people to start it, because I'm happy to promote good content.
What's step 1, 2, 3? Just, is it a case of going to like an Upwork site, finding a writer or a designer if you want to do something more pretty, giving them a brief, having this product created, setting up a sales page? Correct me if I'm wrong here, or if I'm just describing exactly how you do it.
No, you got it. I don't use Upwork or anything like that, but for someone new, for sure, like they have to find writers. I usually go through word of mouth, and my project manager is always looking out and hiring new writers. So we're kind of set that way. But Upwork or Fiverr, if you're doing graphics or something like that, it's just a matter of one product. I know a lot of people think when they start a PLR business, they need this big store that has all these things in it, but it's one PLR product. Get it ready, sell it, if you can just find one affiliate to promote it, or, and then work from there, see what results they get, use those results to get new affiliates, and work from there. One thing that seems to work well for people, and I do not use the JVZoo platform myself, but, JVZoo, a lot of people who promote PLR like that, because they get the instant commissions. It sometimes gives people a boost where, if you could say it's on JVZoo and you get paid right away, affiliates are, and then they can see the stats too, right? They can see proof that the offer sells. And
JVZoo is like ClickBank, right? It's like a marketplace for affiliate products.
Yeah.
Okay, one personal concern here that I'm sure some of the listeners might be thinking about. There's a lot of content being created every day on the internet. I think we're all inundated with the YouTube videos and the blog posts and the Instagram pictures and so on. So there's a part of me thinking, why on earth are people going to pay money for content when there is such an abundant supply of free content online? So what's the secret sauce there to kind of turn this into a money-making business?
So as a seller, like how
just even that thought process, like what's wrong with that thought process given the business model that you make work?
Well, I mean, free content comes with a price. You have to credit the creator of that content. So if you're planning to use free content in your business, which is great, I mean, of course you do it and I do it, everybody does it, but PLR is something that you make your own. It's, you're totally your branding. You can change it. You can modify it, adjust it to your audience so it really speaks to them. You have full control over everything. And so whether you're a user of PLR or seller of PLR, that's your selling point, right? Like, this is their content that they can use. They can create products from it. They can create free content from it, whatever they want to do.
It gives me the feeling like that the target audience are new entrepreneurs looking for opportunities, so a way to start a new business. And that could be starting a PLR business or actually using the PLR content to start a business, or established business owners who are looking to do something with the content. They already have a market, they already have an audience. So, but there's always that it is a weird, because people say this about blogging or podcasting or YouTubing, the market's too crowded, there's too much being produced. But the answer always to that question is there's a niche there and there's a small audience that you can build a business around. So I feel like that's probably the same answer for the PLR world too. You just have to find this corner of the internet where your target audience is, and you'll get customers and enough to have a business, which it sounds like you've done for over a decade now in PLR.
Yes.
Is that right?
Oh, yes.
So it's a career.
Yeah, and I don't see an end in sight. I mean, the need for the content's still there. People still don't want to do it all themselves, and like.
What does your business look like today in terms of the people you have helping you?
Well,
You're the CEO, right?
It's me. My official title is director because I thought CEO sounded hoity-toity when I incorporated, so I'm director.
Okay.
But yes, I'm the CEO. And I have, I guess, directly with me, I have working, it would be not quite right. I mean, they are my virtual assistants, and that's what they do by trade. But they are much more than that, obviously. One works with me where she does my customer support. She manages my writers. She finds new writers. Like if I don't have anything to do with that. Like I tell her what content needs to be done, and she makes sure it's done. And if, a writer flakes out or something, she find someone to get it done, right? So I don't have to worry about that.
How does she do that? Because hiring is so hard and getting good people is hard. So
Yeah, it is hard, and she's awesome in short. But the secret about this is actually at the same time that I was kind of transitioning from writing for pay, I also started a ghostwriting business where I never did the writing, but we hired writers. So she's still, which I'm not part of. It's very complicated. I'm not part of that business. Someone else purchased it, but she works for both of us.
Okay.
So she has that pool of writers, and it benefits the ghostwriting business owner because those writers get extra work, right? And it benefits me. So she's able to give lots of work through what she does, right? So it's easy to keep people and get new people, and not easy always to get new people. She does some topics are a little bit more difficult to find good people, but yeah. So she just keeps busy with that. And then the other side is my other assistant who does more like the product setup, the sales pages, and she works with the graphics people as well. So, which I don't do as much graphics, so I have she works with two different people and makes sure they get everything done, and I just get basically shown the finished product.
And technical support is someone doing that for you, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, my friend Lynette still does some work for me, but if I do run into those types of problems, it's usually Tanya or Melody, either because they're better at this than me. Either they're fixing it or they're finding the people to fix it, right? So
you've got customer service, you've got like a manager for writers and finding writers and people who put together the stuff you actually sell. Mm-hmm. You've got technical people helping you, I'm assuming, websites, landing pages, sales pages, so on. Anyone else I'm missing here in the team Alice?
It's that as far as people go, those are the people. So, there's two that answer to me, and then there's people under them, and I don't even know sometimes.
Right.
Especially on the writer side, I have no idea.
Right,
I have no idea who writes for me. And I'm sure there's more that they do that I don't even think about, right? Like that just totally, I'm not aware how valuable, I am aware how valuable they are, but I'm saying that individual things that they do, I might be missing something.
And it sounds to me, the most important thing you bring to the table is a lot of the relationships you have with other people, like the affiliates and so on. But I'm curious, what is a day in the life of Alice? What do you personally do? Are you involved with much of the business, or are you mostly with your family?
My job is I write emails. I write emails all day long. Not all day, because I don't do it for that much time of day. But I'm basically I'm the marketer. I'm developing the relationships. I do the product planning. So a day would be mostly me writing emails to affiliates, to customers, those types of things, because I love email marketing. That's, where my biggest focus is. And then, planning products, which doesn't get done every single day. And then also I manage a couple of Facebook groups and things like that. So that's something I enjoy, and, you know, kind of like, you know, like working with those and developing relationships with the customers, and which is kind of an extension of that email marketing part, because the email marketing tends to be a lot more selling, but I soften it out with, you know, the Facebook groups, and which are more content focused, and also, you know, very, I love it because it's very, it forces me to think of, you know, good strategies and things for me to do. It also gives me accountability because I kind of share what I'm working on and making sure that I, you know, keep moving forward. So a lot of benefits to it.
You said earlier, sorry, you said earlier that you do serial launches, which I assume means you're doing many launches a year.
Yeah.
What does that exactly look like? Are you doing one a month, and are you doing like all of it, writing emails, selling your own products, or what do you mean?
2 launches a month. Usually PLR. And then I guess this doesn't also count my business. Let's just focusing on the PLR stuff. Yeah. So it's PLR product being launched about 2 times a month. It used to be more, but yeah. So, or what was the question now? What,
well,
what does that look like?
Yeah. What does that look like? And how do you, I mean, if you're doing it 2 times a month, how is the list? Is it like, it sounds to me, maybe, because what I understand, given you're in your market, I'm assuming a customer who buys one PLR package likes that one because it's something related to what they're doing, where the other one, you know, maybe the second launch that month, it's not related to them at all. So how do you manage this without people, you know, unsubscribing because they're getting constantly hit with promotions for stuff they don't really want?
And I think that's something different about PLR, is that, you know, PLR buyers know that, and especially if they're my customer, they know I'm going to be telling them something they can buy, some PLR they can buy every day. And I think it's more of a, like, yeah, okay, that fits. No, it doesn't, but I'll come back and check, because Alice always has good stuff coming up. Want to make sure. So it's kind of like, it's different than others. Like if you're selling in from training or something like that, I think it's quite different. For me, it's, even though I have 2 launches a month, I'm still promoting a lot of products through affiliates. They get emails from me every day.
Wow.
And most of them are sales emails,
Wow.
like something for them to buy. So it's a different approach. And I'm saying, yeah, I don't know that would work in a lot of different markets, but for PLR, it's, they know I find the good stuff, so they want to check it, and maybe it doesn't fit, but they don't get like, oh, I can't believe she's sending that to me. It's more like, just, okay, well, that one doesn't fit, but the next one might. At least that's how I'm seeing it.
It sounds, if you're not burning out your list and you can mail them a product promotion every day, assumingly they're obviously buying, that sounds like a great market to be in.
It is a great market.
Sounds like everyone should get into PLR.
Exactly, but not everybody.
Not everyone.
You still need people to buy. Or you could sell it, as long as you're still going to buy it, then yeah.
Right. Actually, could I buy your stuff and then sell it to my audience? Are you allowed to do that with PLR?
As PLR? No. There are, and it's harder to find, but there are instances of that where you can find resell rights PLR. Right. And there are some packages here and there of mine that you can actually do that, but no.
I guess it would burn.
And most don't.
It would burn out the market pretty quick if everyone was reselling everyone else's stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Alice, I feel more up to date now on how PLR is working, which is good. And I'm glad that you could share some of the early day stuff too. It sounds like you still enjoy this. So normally I'd ask you what the future holds for you at this point in the interview here towards the end. I'm thinking sounds like you enjoy writing emails, you enjoy running the business. It sounds kind of like it's a hands-off business on a lot of levels for you. You don't even know what some of your staff are exactly doing each day. Right?
I have someone to keep an eye on that.
Right.
But yeah, it's true. I mean, it is something that I enjoy doing. I mean, I don't really enjoy being in the spotlight a lot. And I kind of did that in the early days with Internet-Based Moms, where I was this, it was about me. And here I really like that it is hands-off. It's something, and even though, my subscribers and customers get to know me a bit, and I'm out there on social media and stuff like that, it's still, the very hands-off thing. And that's why, I don't want to change it. I don't want to become a superstar or anything like that, because is just too much pressure on me. This is perfect for me.
Well, I apologize for interviewing you on a podcast.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm going to be famous, and what am I going to do?
You already are somewhat famous, Alice. I remember you from early days, but I can understand you don't want to be Marie Forleo number 35 or something like that. So, can we go over all the domain names? We haven't mentioned your how to become a PLR entrepreneur website, right. So I think there'll be some interest in that. So what was that one?
Well, that's part of a project I run with Ron Douglas, and we have EliteWritersLab.com, and we have a variety of products that teach writers how to turn their skills into a living. So if they go to EliteWritersLab.com and there's training programs or something like that, it's called Content Cash Flow. And if you actually Google Content Cash Flow, you'll probably find it, but it's on the EliteWritersLab.com website. That's the PLR training program. But we teach people how to create information products, create membership sites, or even if for writers who want, they're just getting started out, we have a program that teaches them to offer their writing as services, right? Because it's a great way to start. It's how I started. And even though it's not where I wanted to stay, it was an easy way to start paying bills and getting, transitioning from workplace to doing stuff on your own. So we also teach that. And
AliceSeba.com, I know that still exists, but that's probably not the best starting point for everything else you do, is it? They can if they just want to see. It's a one-page site, so it lists my projects, has a few photos and stuff like that. So it actually isn't a bad place to start because you'll find Elite Writers Lab there. You'll find List Magnets. I have updated it. I believe Publish for Prosperity is on there. If it's not, I'm going to go right over and check that I've updated it. Okay. But I believe I did. Alice Seba, that's Seba is Alice's last name. Alice, thank you for taking the time to share the journey and I guess open my eyes a little bit to see how PLR is still being used. It sounds like there's a little corner of the internet where there's this hungry buying audience who love PLR content. So, it's great that you made work for so long, and it's great that it's still a thriving industry. I thought it was kind of dead and gone, so that's great. And you've clearly lived or supported a great lifestyle for a long time. You haven't had a job. You've been living in Vancouver, not exactly a cheap city to live in.
The most unaffordable city in North America, I think it was voted or something. Yeah.
You've raised 2 kids during this whole time.
But 3.
3 kids. I'm sorry. There's a third one there.
Yeah. Even more accomplished than you thought.
I think there might be 2 dogs involved here too. So.
There are dogs, yes.
Yeah. So, and it's like you said, I wouldn't say you've been behind the scenes, but you've found a niche and you've used your skill at writing. It sounds like you're a prolific email writer, actually, more than anything, right? And you've made it into a long-term stable business, which is fantastic to hear. So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. Well, thank you for allowing me to. That was fun.
And good luck with the future, but I think you clearly know what you're doing, so no need to wish you too much more luck there. And talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, this is Yaro. If you enjoyed this episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast and you'd like to receive an email every time we release a brand new interview, as well as receive a series of the very best EJ podcast interviews from the archives, then I recommend you go straight away to Interviews Club. That's interviewsclub.com. Enter your email address there, and then you'll be signed up to receive all the latest podcast episodes as soon as they're released. You'll get an email direct to your inbox. That's interviewsclub.com.
Next time on the EJ Podcast.
Find out what you really, really want to do. What drives you, and what's kind of the thing that you're looking at that gets you super excited. Once you figure that out, go and find somebody that's already done it and offer them value. Maybe even team up with them. But learn what they know and perhaps form a partnership. If you do that one thing, you're going to save yourself so much time and energy. I've done that ever since the beginning.
Thank you for tuning in to the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast, the original entrepreneur interview podcast established in 2005. See you soon.